Hey everybody, it's Mike Young, lifestyle nutritionist with aPlantBasedDiet.org. Welcome to chapter 78 on the three white poisons. Let me name them right now before I forget. This was told to me by, I'll get that in a minute, who was told to me by recently, not too long ago. Three white poisons are refined sugar, like white granular sugar, or actually any kind of refined sugar that's mostly white in color, salt or sodium, white in color, refined crushed rocks, that kind of stuff, and then refined white flour. Now, this was taught to me by a housemate that my wife Denise and I had, Dell, a few years ago. He is from Morocco. And Dell, hello. And thank you so much for talking about the three white poisons. We had a lot of good discussions about nutrition and the effect on health. And it's refreshing to talk to people, at least in my mind, that were not born in this country, because if you guys have been following popular culture, a lot of people who are born in this country just don't have the same drive or determination or, I don't know, get up and go attitude, motivation as folks who were born in other countries. I don't know why that is. I don't know what's happened here in the United States to where being born in here it will handicap you. I guess it's spoiling you or something. But Dell, I don't think he was born in the United States. Other housemates we have had have been one of the other two, either born here or not born here. And ones who are not born here offer tremendous insight, in my opinion, anyway. Always you can learn a lot from anyone, but especially someone who was not born in the United States. So let's get to this. Now, Dell was not vegetarian. He was not vegan. But actually, yeah, because I think when I talked to him, I included in the three white poisons dairy. Okay. And actually, he may have too. So, Dell, if you're watching, let me know in the comments. So that's four. I'm not sure which ones would be for you, but sugar, salt, refined white flour, and dairy. But let's get right to it. These things, sugar, salt, refined white flour, and of course dairy, which in any animal product is about as far from food as grown as you can get. Now, the closest one is going to be white flour, because it's like wheat or similar product that you use to make baked goods, breads, things like that, none of which are natural, none of which are food is grown. And you can have some wheat and other things that are not super refined, that are whole grain, that are more brown in color, and that's better. It's definitely better for you than the white poison type. But in terms of the sugars, there's also different types of sugars that are better. The white sugar is going to be your worst choice, but you can do like brown sugar, which is still refined, I believe. But some of the things that are actually okay to use are going to be like dates that you make a date paste out of, not a date syrup, but a paste, or just chop them up in the blender after you hydrate them, so they're not in the dehydrated state. Actually, Del gave me some that were not in dehydrated state, which is awesome. That he got probably from Morocco, I think. And maple syrup you can use, agave, things like that. But other forms of sweeteners are just really not okay. And then salt or sodium is basically crushed rocks. Now, recently I've heard from Pericles over there at Green Fair saying that what you find in miso soup, the type of salt there, a fermented salt, is actually okay. Apparently, it doesn't have the same effect on your body. But salt in general, as you can imagine, is just crushed rocks, and it actually cuts you. It cuts you on the inside. And that, I need some water, excuse me. We're going to do a chapter on water coming up here. But the crushed rocks mess you up internally. It's not good. Not to mention what it does to your blood pressure, possible stomach cancer, destroying your gut bacteria. It's all bad. So you can see these three white poisons, at least as I find them on the internet. And like I said, I cannot remember exactly what Dell said. These white poisons, the whole concept of white food. Now, in my mind, the whole concept of brown food is less than optimal. But these white poisons is like a step in the wrong direction from the brown foods. So if you look at our logo, aPlantBasedDiet.org, and I have a chapter on that here in the book previous, look back for it, where I go over the logo and why it means what it means. It's very colorful because you see in color, you have color vision. So white is like the absolute worst form of anything if you think about it from this point of view. I wish this stuff was taught early on, because if you go around to the grocery stores in different places, and there's even still people that think bread is good. If you consider some of the fad diets that are out there saying, oh, well, our ancient peoples that were related to, they used to eat bread. So it's probably okay. But they were doing some things wrong with that too. And that was just the early form of processing. It's just it happened to be processing thing that folks could do, but even making it and processing it by hand is extremely, extremely time consuming, and you would never do that on your own if you didn't have to. So basically, these white poisons are, if we exclude dairy for a minute, for the reasons why I said, this is an animal product. The other ones aren't animal products. You can see why it's just so far off of where you need to be as the natural food has grown, and the fiber, the nutrition, it's just not in there. So that these things are actually, just like there's a spectrum of different things where you can have something that's good for you that will be considered healthy, whatever that means, and then you cross that line and then you're into unhealthy. These things are way beyond that line, anything like that. And again, I wish people would talk about this and would have understood this early on, and not to mention what it does to your health. Because like if you're giving all this stuff to kids and the kids love this white stuff, it affects their gut health. It affects, their brain health. It affects so many things about who they are. It's not like, oh, well, they're just kids. Just let them have it. Sooner or later, they'll be adults and they'll make the right choice at that point, we hope, or maybe they won't, but they probably will. No, we know it doesn't work. Just read these early chapters I had in the book. There's too much negative peer pressure ongoing. You've got to educate. Your job as parents, grandparents, school teachers, is anybody who's producing content like me here on the internet, is to educate. So just let this stick in your mind. Remember the 3 white poisons. 3 white poisons: the white sugar, white salt, and white flour. That involves almost all baked goods, unless someone's using whole wheat. And again, that's less than optimal, because it's already, you're pounding it to get into that form. That is not natural. That is not like a food as grown type of a thing. So if you want to live to 150, and that's what this book is about, living to 150, you've got to avoid these poisons. These poisons will bring you down. And you can think, if you even believe just a little bit of the stuff where we say that these are poisons, and you know how ubiquitous, truly ubiquitous, these substances are in society, you understand why people are only reaching half their lifespan, right? You do. Because if they weren't doing these things, which is not happening, your system would be so much better off, so much more in balance. So everything you would be consuming would be so much more beneficial. So consider that. Stay away from the poisons. Let me know what your definition of the 3 white poisons are. Have you ever heard it before? Let me know who told it to you, because I gave you my story about how I heard about this. It's only in recent history, recent times. And it was taught to me by somebody who was not even born in the United States. So love to hear your stories. Make sure you like the video if you got some value out of it. Of course, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And we'll see you in the next chapter. Bye-bye.